another stream. This time for a movie review, and this time it's for one of my highly more anticipated films of this month, along with several others. But this is The Bride, directed by, of course, Maggie Gyllenhaal. Stars what you see on screen here: Jessie Buckley as the bride of Frankenstein, Christian Bale, the monster Frankenstein, Ronnie Reed, played by Jake Gyllenhaal, Peter Skarsgård as Detective Jake Wilds, Penelope Cruz as Marina, and Annette Bening as one of the doctors or surgeons. So, in the 1930s Chicago, groundbreaking scientist Dr. Euphonius brings a murdered young woman back to life to be a companion for Frankenstein's monster. What happens is beyond what either of them could ever imagine. So, pretty much going into this movie, I knew exactly what I was going to get myself into. I figured that this was more going to be more artistic, more based in reality, more atmospheric and ambient, with some good, brightful color design and visual looking scopes that really you're going to be mesmerized throughout the entire runtime. And I mean, that's pretty much what I've got in the beginning parts of the film, but also the story kind of beats a little bit, where we get the bride itself, herself, Penelope, I think Penelope Ginger, that she goes by in the film. She ends up having a fall, and she wasn't even supposed to make it. So the fact is that a companion mate of Frankenstein's monster ends up seeing this, that she ends up getting taken to one of the local doctors, and then the doctors end up having to examine the body, examine the wound, and they end up reincarnating and reinvigorating her and end up bringing her back to life. So we end up seeing both of them, together at some point. They end up going on these little runs and whatever. And what goes on is they both have this love triangle and love attachment. And they end up getting caught up into some different realms of just trouble with the law. They were a bunch of troublemakers. They start a lot of breakouts, fights end up breaking out. Things end up getting farce and chaotic to the point where a lot of the people in the film was a little bit getting more unbearable of them. So my thoughts simply, let me just go into the dislikes. The things that I dislike about this film, let's just get into that before we get into the positives. The things I did not like about this film, we're gonna start off one with the story. I think the story feels more like it felt more of a chaotic mess. And the reason why I say that is because it doesn't really take off as far as the way we supposed to follow, like we did in the beginning of The Bride and of course Frankenstein's monster. We end up getting more evolved with the detectives and the cops more or less than we end up getting involved with the actual bride. And then by the time when they did get back to them and their storyline and their story arc, some of the payoffs didn't really feel like they actually earned what they actually are, and that feels more clunky. And I also do feel like not only the story arc being a little bit clunky at times and chaotic and a little bit messy, the direction also can feel chaotic and messy. The story arc can feel a lot more chaotic and messy, and also with the direction too that Maggie Gyllenhaal was trying to take, because I feel like she goes and takes a lot of big swings, and some of them do end up landing. Some of the big swings end up landing, and I do think a lot of risks that she ends up taking, some of them do come out with a reward and come out with payoff. But then there's times where I feel like the direction does taper off, and it has a little bit of a makeshift in tone at times too. And I feel like that doesn't really help, certain audiences, because they may feel a little bit confused. And even certain times I did feel a little bit confused, like, wait a minute. It went from this arc, it went from this storyline to this storyline, and went from this character arc to this character arc. But it didn't feel like something was flowing. It didn't really feel like something was merging and meshing together. And it went from that different plot point to that different plot point, and it didn't feel like everything was meshing together. It didn't feel as cohesive as I would have thought. So that would be the main things that I would complain about is the direction, and I would complain about the story a little bit, where it feels a little bit jarring, a bit chaotic and messy. Um, and also, I do feel like in certain instances that the ending, while I did like the ending, I actually did like how it kind of ended up paying off at some point. You know, felt like more of a love triangle and attachment when we got back to the Bride and Frankenstein. But before we would get to that point, it felt like I said, it didn't feel as earned, it didn't feel as welcoming. So that's what I would say is the things I would dislike about it, about the movie in the earlier stages of it. But the main things that I really love about this film mainly was the performances. I mean, we're gonna start off. Let's start off with Jessie Buckley. She had an absolute transformative performance. Was so mesmerizing. She pretty much embodied this role like she made this role her own as the bride. She made this her own. She really just launches herself into it and just really feels like she's at home with it. It feels very comfortable. And Christian Bale as Frankenstein's mom, like although he didn't really, he didn't get really a big arc with his storyline, but his performance as a whole was just fantastic. Like they really felt like the parent really, you really felt like they matched together and they matched it really well. And they really was transformative, electrifying, and very translucent at times. It really felt like he was following what they was going with. I just feel like the script could have matched the tone of what their performances were. Um, and then also, I like the detectives. I like Penelope Cruz. I thought she had a really solid performance, along with Peter Sarsgaard. I thought they did a really decent job in there. I really like what they was doing with the film. I thought it was very creative. I thought it was very hard hitting when it comes to their performances. I thought the creativity and the imaginative of what they was doing was really unique. Um, so that would be the main thing I would really stand out was what their performances. And I love the visuals. Like I said, this is the things that I would say is a bit of a fault with the direction, but the positives with the direction is the outstanding camera work and the outstanding cinematography, and also the outstanding visuals too. The visuals were bright and colorful, very easy to gauge and look at, and very much so good to concentrate on. It really keeps you involved, and it really feels like they was bringing in so much effort with the color design and the scheme, and really knowing exactly where the audiences was most likely going to pay attention to. So I really thought that was very a far and really much a big positive for me. And again, I was never really bored watching it at all. I felt very engaged. I felt very in tune, and I felt very much just in front and center, concentrating on what everybody else's performance was, and I felt very much concentrated on the visuals. It was just such an amazing feeling sitting there. So I had a fun time with it. And again, I like the third thing is a major positive. I like the gothic and atmospheric vibe and the tone of it, and the tone in that perspective, the gothic atmospheric vibe and the looks, and how everything was steadily going in a good way. And I like the pacing too. The pacing also really felt like it was steadily going and really edited well. So that would be the major thing I would give a plus to. Now, with all that being said, my scoring rating I would give this film, I'm giving this film a solid 3 out of 4 stars. I think it was a decent watch. Um, I wouldn't necessarily go out and rush to see this. I would definitely kind of like take your time with it. Maybe see it over the weekend if you feel like it. You don't feel like going to spend your hard-earned money on the week that it does come out. You can probably it's best to just probably wait until and see what things happen. But take your girl out to go see this film. She might enjoy, and take you and your friends to go out. Take your friends to go out and see it. You probably will enjoy it. overall. So I enjoyed the film. I enjoyed what they was going with. Again, I would have loved this film if the story could have been there, as far as matching the chemistry and the unity and the chemistry that uh as Jesse Buckley and Christian Bale were doing, and along with the detectives and everything. I wish the story could have been there, and I wish some of the direction would have been, flowed a little bit better. But that would be my only critique. But yeah, those are my thoughts on The Bride. Tell me what you guys think down in the comment section below. Oh, I see a few people in here. Oh, hey, Clay, hey, what's going on? But yeah, I see a few people in here. But yes, that's my thoughts on The Bride. Tell me what you guys think down in the comment section below. I'm out. Peace.